Hello, my name is Elijah Ehrhart, and this is my final project. This is my M1911 in Solidworks. So I thought I'd start out by giving a little overview of the completed assembly here. First, I'll start by giving a little 360 view here, show you around. Okay, so anyway, I thought I'd highlight the moving parts first. So I never did figure out how to make things interact physically, like so that maybe this would, when this is pulled back, this would come down. But so I'll just do it manually because it kind of intersects into itself a lot. So the hammer can come down, the upper receiver can move back and forth as if you're shooting the gun. The trigger also depresses. So this doesn't come back as much as you would think. But when you pull the trigger, the hammer would come forward, shoot the cartridge. The recoil would make that go back, and as that went back, the hammer would come down, and then so on. But anyways, and then this piece moves also. This is the slide lock. You can lock the slide in place here for cleaning or disassembly, just like that. You can come down. Also, we have the safety here. It's just a little slide that slides into the upper receiver and makes this unable to move. And here we have the magazine release. It's a button. You press it down. It allows the magazine to be taken out. And then you can load it up, put it back in, and that doesn't stay depressed. And the one other moving part is this grip safety. So this is another added safety feature of the gun. You have to have this depressed with your palm in order for the trigger to actually be able to be pulled. So I added that in. Yeah, so that's a basic overview of the assembly here. Completed. So I thought I would give an overview of some of the main parts. Here is one of them. This is the lower receiver here. So I figured the best way to showcase this is just to hide everything from the beginning and show you how it was made. So I started out with making a sketch of the side profile and then extruding that. And then the first thing I did was cut out a hole with ovals and circles for the trigger area. And then, okay, it's not showing that because apparently it's conflicting the complete assembly. But if I come down here, okay. So basically what I did was I just cut out a little area since the trigger guard is skinnier than the actual whole profile of the gun. So I cut it out a little area on this side, and then I mirrored it to the other side so that we have a skinnier profile there. And then this is a fillet. I always say fillet. It's fillet to make that a little nicer looking. That I just improved the profile because it's the underbarrel right there is circular. And then here comes a mess of fillets just to make things smoothed out and more gun looking, not so blocky. So that looks better. And then this is when I decided to shell out the inside because I knew things were going to have to go in here, and in reality this is shelled out like that, even actually more so. There's like a hole here in reality, but I did not need that. Then next thing I did was I cut out a hole for the magazine and another notch right here because the magazine has a lip on it so that it fits nice and snug in there. Then I added another plane back here because I needed to do this. Okay. Oh, it's not showing up. Oh, there we go. So the lower receiver and upper receiver actually connect in this like weird sort of pattern. I didn't even know it was like this, but this is how it looks. This is how they interconnect so that I guess that doesn't fly off. So I just made a sketch and extruded cut it, maybe a little over halfway. The next thing I did was I cut out a hole for the hammer and then a hole for the grip safety. Add another plane here and made a cut for the trigger. Then I don't like how it does it. Okay, so I cut that out because that was way too high up, but it ended up being not too high. It ended up being not exactly what I needed, so I needed to make it a little higher, or there would have been a gap in the gun. So a lot of these, everything else in this list is pretty much just added little tweaks that I need to come back and make because things kept intersecting or it didn't look right. So I had to come back and do these after the fact. And then a lot of these other changes are just holes for pins and buttons and stuff. So yeah, anyway, so that turned out pretty well. This was actually a pretty difficult piece for me to make. In all honesty, it took me a while, but I think it turned out pretty good. And then the next most complicated piece, I would say, is this upper receiver here. So the upper receiver, I guess I'll do the same sort of thing to show you how I did this. With this, I made this shape and extruded it, and then I started cutting out some of the shapes and contours of the front of it. Also, I did not need that, so I cut that out. And then this is where I shelled it because obviously I needed things to go inside of it and it to fit properly on the lower receiver. And then this is where I started adding the actual profile of the front because it's not all flat and they're all completely different distances away from this face right here. And then I added the hole for the barrel, which actually there's a barrel that goes inside of this. It's a completely different piece. Then I cut out a hole for where the bullets come out. So you shoot the gun, the bullets fly out of there. And that fits well on the lower receiver. And then that I needed that because this is where the pin to actually detonate the cartridges is. It's not just hollow back there. It doesn't look exact. It actually, this has some parts in there, but I didn't add those. And then then I cut out where that weird interlocking pattern that I needed. And then this is where the hammer hits. And then I needed to shave the side profile. It kind of looks like that, so I kind of just made like a triangle here with a curved edge and then cut that off. Then this didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. This doesn't look extremely accurate, but I tried a couple different things and this is the best I could do here. And what is this? Oh, that was for the inside. It didn't look quite right, so I needed to do that. This is for the slide lock, and this is actually a little notch that's in there. That's for reassembly. You gotta line up the slide lock with this little cut for reassembly. But I didn't make it go all the way through. In reality, there's a very thin piece of metal there. And this was for then I need to cut that out for the safety. And then this, I just made a linear sketch pattern of one of these shapes because this is like the distinctive M1911 like ribs. And I did try to mirror this to the other side, but I couldn't quite get it to work for some reason, but it wasn't too hard to just make that again on the other side. And that needs to come down a little bit. So the rest of these are pretty much just edited features because I would get to the final assembly and things wouldn't look quite right. Actually, I did add this texture here in a weird way. I just kind of cut vertical columns and then horizontal columns, and then I was left with this little square pattern. It's kind of mesmerizing to look at. I don't know why. but it is. But anyways, and then the last major piece I would consider as a major piece is the magazine, even though it's kind of the simplest. So I'll show you how I did it, even though it's kind of simple. I started out with a block, then fillet, shelled it out, cut out the proper holes for the top, and this actually swoops, kind of starts high and goes a little lower. That was kind of annoying to get, but I got it. Then fillet, the top there. And then I needed to add the lip at the bottom, and the holes, and this one hole. This actually has in real life, this has a bullet showing, like, directly lining up with this when you put the bullets in the magazine. But, yeah, anyway, so that's the 3 major parts I would consider, I would consider as major parts. Okay, sure. Anyway, so, and then it took a lot of weird mates to get this to work sometimes. Well, I mean, mostly it was just, like concentric or coincident mates to get these things working. But then for some of these, I'd have like limit angles, and for the slide, limit distance. And one particular one, this magazine going in was kind of really, it was really stressing me out. I couldn't get it to work. So eventually I kind of cheated. I chamfered a little edge on the lower receiver and then lined it up with this edge. Because what would happen was this would be completely straight up and it would like stick out of the front here, and I couldn't get it to work. So I kind of cheated there a little bit, but it turned out okay, I think. And so yeah, just a lot of nothing too bad here though. And I figured I'd show the exploded view. I believe that is here. I did make an exploded view. I'll animate it. I'll get that out of here. I'll put it on a loop. So yeah, you can see all the smaller parts here that are involved, and the barrel actually does do that. It does get smaller. But yeah, I thought that turned out okay. And I did try to make a little animation, but it didn't quite turn out right. It's okay. I'll show it to you because I wanted to have the trigger be pulled and the magazine and the upper receiver and the hammer come around at the same time. So I mean, it sort of works. I think it's okay. But yeah, anyways, this was my final project, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I thought it turned out pretty okay. And thanks for watching.